saw a huge demon/shadow and heard it speak to me. Back in my freshman year of high school in New Jersey when I was 15 years old, I had a very disturbing event happen to me and thought I'd share it with this community. Now, before getting into the details, I'd like to mention that my girlfriend at the time practiced Wicca and always read from old books. I really wasn't quite sure what it was, but imagined it was some sort of witchcraft. I was kind of ignorant as to how powerful that stuff was, and always just brushed it off. Anyway, I would always walk my girlfriend home after school and, like the gentleman that I am, carry her backpack. This is a vital fact that will come into play later on in the story. My girlfriend at the time was in Navy ROTC, and she was supposed to go to PT, physical training, one day after school, but instead skipped PT, and we planned on going to my house to fool around. At the time, I was still a virgin, so I was eager to see if I would finally get lucky. Now, a few blocks away from our high school and on the way to my house, there's an old cemetery. For some reason, she wanted me to go into the cemetery with her, and being the naive 15-year-old that I was, I stupidly agreed. She makes a beeline to a very specific grave, as if she already knew who she was there to visit. The grave didn't even have a tombstone, just a nameplate in the ground, and it was very old, dating back to 1926, I believe. I still remember the name, and hope that by typing her name nothing creepy happens. Her name was Ada Mae Van Pelt. Anyway, she stops at this grave and asks me for her backpack. From her backpack, she pulls out a really old-looking book, a metal medieval-looking cup, and other old weird objects and placed them on top of the grave. She sits on the ground and starts reading from this book. I'm not sure what language it was, but it sounded like Latin or something ancient that I couldn't understand. Anyway, while she's reading in this cryptic language, I started noticing changes in the atmosphere. It got really dark and windy, as if a storm was coming in right over us. And I kid you not, but a whole bunch of crows showed up out of nowhere and were hovering right over us. At this point, I'm scared shitless, and all I could let out of my mouth was, "What are you doing?" To where she replied, "I'm evoking her powers." This was a very powerful witch, and I'm evoking her powers. So between all this creepy stuff happening around us and her telling she was basically stealing powers from the grave of a dead witch, I told her I didn't feel comfortable and that I would wait for her in front of the cemetery. I run as fast as I can to the cemetery gate and just stand there, waiting for a few minutes, scared out of my mind. A few minutes later, she comes out of the cemetery and passes me her backpack and says, "Okay, let's go to your house." I don't ask her any more questions about what just happened because, frankly, I was too chicken shit to think about it any longer. We start walking to my place, go inside my apartment, and walk straight to my bedroom. We start walking to my place, go inside my apartment, and walk straight to my bedroom. Now, at the time, I lived in an apartment complex, and each building had 3 floors, with stairs in the hallway connecting each floor. This is important to what happens later. Anyway, being the young hornball that I was, I completely disregarded everything that just happened at the cemetery, and the only thing on my mind is getting to second base and possibly hitting a home run. I put her backpack down on the floor by my dresser, and we start kissing on the bed. We're kissing and feeling each other up for about a minute or so when all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a huge black shadow shows up on my wall. About 8 feet tall and really wide, but it had the form of a human or animal. We both look at each other and she asks me, "Can you hear it? He's trying to speak to you." But at the time I couldn't hear anything, I could only see it. So I tell her that I cannot hear anything. She then places her hands on my ears, one hand on each ear, and says, "Now you can hear." All of a sudden I can actually hear what this thing was saying, like not through my ears, if that makes any sense. It was more telepathic, if anything. Everything that it said was going straight into my mind, and I understood every word. I don't remember everything word for word, but basically what this dark being was telling us was that we were young and didn't know what love was or what we were getting ourselves into. He continued to tell us that he used to live in that same apartment, and one day he came home early from work and caught his wife cheating on him with another man. He snapped and chased her to the door with a knife and ended up stabbing her multiple times, but she survived, and he later died in jail for that crime. At this point, my heart is beating at 1,000 beats per minute, and I'm very, very scared, but thank God my mom comes knocking on the door to check up on us, and the dark shadow disappeared. All I can think of was to get out of that room. So we both go into my living room, and she confirms that she heard everything that I heard, word for word. We are both pretty shooken up, so we just stay in my living room watching TV until it's time for her to go home. We start getting ready for our walk, and for some reason, I can't find her backpack that I had left in my room earlier. We both look everywhere and can't seem to find it anywhere in the apartment. I end up telling her that I'll more than likely find it later, and I'll just bring it to school in the morning. Anyway, we walk out of my apartment, and right on the hallway stairs that go up to the 3rd floor is her backpack, open on the top stair with all of its contents scattered all over the stairs, book, metal cup, etc. Creeped out, I help her pack everything up and walk her home. Wait, it doesn't end there. I forgot to mention that at the time my mother practiced Santeria. We're Cuban, and the majority of Cubans bring that religion with them. Thankfully, my mom left all that behind and is now a devout Christian woman. But anyway, when I get home, my mom and her friend are in the kitchen, and I overhear them talking about my girlfriend, and it seemed like they were trying to figure out stuff about her through the Santeria. All of a sudden, my ex calls my house phone, and when I pick up, I hear her crying frantically, "Please tell her to stop. It hurts. It hurts. Tell her to stop, please." This was so creepy. It's like she could feel my mom and her friend using the Santeria to reveal things about her, and it was physically hurting her. So we end up breaking up after this incident, and the years go by. We both graduate from high school, and we go many years without seeing each other. It seems like what they say is true, that when you practice witchcraft, it comes back to you. Because I recently ran into her, and she is all messed up. And I feel so messed up. She has some kind of disease where she's all swollen in the face and barely recognizable, and has many other health issues. I feel bad for her. We had a long conversation, and I brought up the incident above, and she remembers every single detail vividly, like I do. From the name on the grave to her backpack on the stairs with all her stuff thrown on the stairs. I know some of you might not believe anything about this story, but trust me, everything I just revealed is completely accurate and really happened. I have some other stories of paranormal incidents that have happened to me, and hopefully I'll get to share them with you guys and gals soon. Night.